What up, roomies? Some people talk about changing their life, and then there's people who actually burn their old life down, and rebuild it from nothing. Today's guest didn't just level up; she completely rewrote her story. From surviving in a world where odds weren't in her favor to building multi six-figure businesses, traveling across 25 countries, and helping other people break out of survival mode. This isn't just a success story. This is a transformation story. Ellie, welcome to the pod. Welcome to Neighbors. How you doing, mama?
Thank you so much. I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Just enjoying the day off, but got to get some potting done. You know how that goes.
Yeah.
So what's going on? Yo, your story really captivated me because I'm from the inner city of New York. So I
Mm.
know how that old life used to be comparing to like, switching up and trying to do everything legit now. So like so what was the moment that you realized if I don't change my life, this ends bad? Like what was your turning point?
Yeah, good question. So I was I've always had this like entrepreneurial spirit. My mum and dad have always worked in it, had their own businesses, and that kind of went the wrong way when people were asking me for drugs at the club, and I was like,
Yeah.
I should make some money off this.
Oh yeah, I know how that goes.
Like, why am I connecting people for free? So I went down that path, and I thought I was having the time of my life. I was like, late teens, early 20s. I was having fun. It was like the best and the worst time of my life, I always say, because I love music. I loved going out clubbing. I loved all the friends that I made. But then you find out after shit goes down who your real friends are. There was a night at the club where they did a big raid, police dogs,
Yeah.
video cameras, news reporters, everything, and I got caught. And that you would think that that would be my turning point. It did make me slow down. It made me stop going out to the clubs. It made me stop dealing, but it didn't make me stop doing drugs.
Yeah.
I was addicted to ecstasy mostly, and I was just wanting to like as I went through personal development over the years, I felt like that was because I wasn't loving myself and I wanted to feel happy, and that's that serotonin,
Yeah.
boost in your brain. As I've gotten older, I've also realized that I'm probably ADHD, and that dopamine from the
Yeah.
pills is like, oh, it all makes sense now.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I went through all of that, but I was still using a little bit, and then I went over to England. I was born in England, but lived in Australia most of my life. Went
Yeah.
over to England for a year, stayed with my family, then got a job as a nanny in London. And I actually met a guy, and we'd only known each other 3 months. We were hitchhiking through Portugal and Spain, and I found out I was pregnant.
Oh.
And I was 23 and he was 30. Actually, I was 22 when I fell pregnant, 23 when I had her. But yeah, we were hitchhiking through Portugal and Spain, and I found out I was pregnant. I was like, shit.
Oh, shit just
uh,
got real.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it was in that moment that it was about a month before I fell pregnant that I last used drugs. And it was in that moment that I was like, okay, I can destroy my own life, but I'm not going to destroy a child's life. And so then
That's a good part.
I didn't use again after that. When I got back from that year away, I was living in poverty. I had no money, living off welfare. My partner at the time, he couldn't work because he was on a tourist visa. And I knew that I didn't want to, after I had the baby, I didn't want to go working in call centers again, making other people rich
Yeah.
instead of myself. And so everything kind of went on from there of like getting out of that scene, having the baby, and then going, I want to create a better life for myself and my family.
I get that. And like when you had the baby, right? What was like I understand the drive, but what was the idea that sparked that, initially put the foothold on your success?
Yeah, had wanted to be a personal trainer for a little while, and I started studying, but then I went traveling and I stopped. After I had my daughter, I was like, okay, I'm going to get serious about this. And I decided to study to be a personal trainer.
Okay.
And And at the time as well, I looked around so that I could lose my baby weight. I looked around for like boot camps where there was a babysitter looking after the kids, so I could actually connect with the moms and not have to be, pushing baby in the pram whilst I'm trying to get a workout in, because that's all
Yeah.
there was around that time 15 years ago. And there was nothing, there was no one doing that. So I found that gap in the market after I studied to be a personal trainer. Most of the other people who were in my course just went and worked in gyms. And I
Yeah.
was like, well, I don't want to create another job for myself. I did this to create a business. So first week out of PT college, I started my first business. Before I started that business, I'd ended up losing 29 kilos in 7 months after having my daughter, which is
Nice.
think about 60 pounds, somewhere around
Yeah.
that.
Somewhere around
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's dope
Uh,
though. In 7 months.
yeah, and it was the
That's
easiest
amazing.
time I've ever lost weight in my life. I was being poor actually helped me lose weight because I couldn't afford to eat out. I couldn't afford much food at all, to be honest. I didn't have a car, couldn't afford a car. So I used to run everywhere and walk everywhere with baby in the pram. Even when I started my personal training business, I had what equipment I could fit in the bottom of the pram, and I would run to all my classes, do the boot camps, do my personal training sessions. She came everywhere with me, and I had the babysitters there looking after her and the other kids, so the mums had that time out for themselves.
That's so dope. So, so you found this need in the market and you capitalized on it.
Mm. Yeah,
So
yeah,
like,
exactly.
so like, how did the training camp go? Was it like, were you leading the classes and you had like a separate set of like people babysitting the kids, or was
Yeah.
it like a little interactive sometimes?
No, so well, yeah, the babysitters were there looking after the kids. We had multiple babysitters. So some were with the
Yeah.
older kids on the playground, some were with the little babies, we had a heap of toys and stuff for them. If a kid was losing their shit and wanted to be with their mom, we'd chuck them on their back and they'd do push-ups with their toddler on their back, or like we'd
Nice.
include them if they wanted to. Yeah. Um, and then I grew that from the one location to, I think I had 5 or 6 locations by the end of it. I was also running one-on-one personal training, small group training, and then I expanded into online programs and coaching as well, helping people with their mindset. And yeah, we did all sorts of things because the mums would start with me to lose their baby weight. But then once
Yeah.
they'd done that, they were feeling fitter, they were feeling stronger, more confident, and they were like, oh, I can do anything now. So I was powerlifting competitively.
Yeah.
So I had some of the mums come and do powerlifting competitions. We
That's
used to
so
do
dope.
like, yeah, yeah. We used to do fun runs. We used to do obstacle races. We'd do all sorts of cool stuff. And I really made it an amazing community where people, like, this was 15 years ago. Some of them are still my friends and some of them are friends with each other now.
That's so dope. Like, and it's cool because of the fact that not only did your business thrive, but it also helped build a little community as well, and
Mm.
people ended up making lifelong friends. That's so
Yeah.
dope. So like, so like after this one business, what did you move on into after this? Like, did you, because I know
Yeah.
you spearheaded a couple of them. So what was the next idea? What was the next step?
Yeah. So I was a couple years in and I got pregnant with my second child.
Hey,
And and by that time I was kind of like getting a bit over having to be at the classes, and I wanted more freedom. I wanted to be able to travel around the world with my kids, have something that was online. And this was like probably about 13 years ago by this stage. So online space was very, very new. They
yeah,
didn't even have like Facebook ads or Facebook groups back then. So it was very new. And I started doing things online, but I wanted more freedom. And I was kind of like sick of just, yeah, I'd outgrown it. So I
yeah,
ended up selling the personal training business. And then I saw a lot of people who were personal trainers and people in the health and fitness industry that were doing so many sessions a week and like starting crazy early in the morning, working late nights, and not making much money. And I wanted to be able to help them because I'd grown mine from the beginning, where I didn't have early mornings, late nights. I was making a lot more money than they were, and
yeah,
I was doing it on my terms. So I thought, well, I've grown this business to, $200,000, set up systems, had team, build an amazing community. I'm going to show other people how to do that. And so I started in the coaching space for the health and fitness industry. And over the years, that expanded to different industries. But I started just with them, being able to show them how to grow their business and how to create more freedom. And from that as well, then I started traveling all around the world with my kids from when they were quite little. My eldest, she went to 15 countries by the time she was 9. I
Nice.
remember, yeah, I remember there was one school holidays and she's like, "What country are we going to these school holidays?" And I was like, "Oh, actually, we're staying at home this one." But it was the first one where we hadn't been to like a different country.
Yeah, that's so dope. So like you went from the streets to, making something legit and traveling the world, and that's
Mm,
amazing. Especially the fact that your kids were a big inspiration to this. Like,
yeah.
how much of the how much of like your child's influence, how much, excuse me, how much of an influence were your children to like inspire you to like grow your business and like be out there?
Yeah, massive. It was my real like driving force in the beginning, and still is, because in the beginning when I was poor, I was like, I don't want to be going working in a call center making, $25 an hour, and like not ever having any time off, not having freedom, not having much money, just making ends meet. So being able to grow the businesses that I have, it's created so many opportunities for myself and my family. And it's the big things and the little things. So the big things is things like we've been able to travel all around the world. We've been able to live in different countries. We lived
Yeah,
in Portugal for a little while. They've seen amazing things. Like I wanted them to grow up seeing different cultures. They've seen 2-year-olds begging on the streets in Cambodia
oh
and
wow,
people with their legs blown off from landmines. And it's like it's made them like more grateful and like just good kids.
yeah,
Um, and so I wanted to be able to create those experiences for them. But it's also on the small kind of day to day, week to week things as well. Like I've never put them in before or after school care. I always take them to school and I always pick them up, or like me and my partner do it together.
yeah,
We get to have a lot of time with them. And I get to be present with them, and I get to choose when I work and how much I work. So I'm really like, that's really important to me. And also being a good role model for them as well. So I've put hundreds of thousands of dollars into my own business and personal development. I'm always learning and growing. I'm always trying to be a better version of myself. And I've taught them that as well. I've taught them things like emotional regulation and
yeah.
setting goals and stuff around money and things around, you can create whatever you want in life. So yeah, I've got 4 kids now, so I keep
Nice.
teaching over the years at different stages. My eldest is 16 next week, my youngest is 2. So it's all these different phases that I'm going through with them as well.
That's a blessing. I've yet to be blessed with kids. I'm working on it, but I've yet to be
Yeah.
blessed with kids. And from somebody who's inspiring to be a parent, right? How
Mm.
important is it to like have your kids like well traveled and like actually see the world?
I think it's so important. Like, even start small. Like, if you can go somewhere within your country or like locally and things like that, it's good to show that you can, switch off. Even going camping is quite cheap if someone doesn't have a lot of money behind them in the beginning. Find somewhere to camp. Like, no technology, just switch off. Go somewhere that doesn't have Wi-Fi and switch off and actually like read books and play and swim in the creek and like actually spend some decent quality time together. Go on a road trip, or do different things like locally or within your country. But then I think stepping that up the next level, being able to see different countries and cultures. I've had people that have come to my retreats. For example, I ran a retreat in Fiji years ago, and I had
Nice.
someone who, yeah, I had someone who'd never left Australia, and I had someone from Texas who came. She'd never left America. And it's like, they went and got passports and they went and left their countries for the first time ever to come to my retreat, which was amazing. Like, I thought that was so cool that they would do that for something I was putting on. But it's like you get to see different languages, different cultures, how people live. If you travel to more developing countries, not just, big Western countries,
Yeah,
you get to feel really grateful for what you have. And you also realize that money isn't everything as well. There can be people that have so much money and they're miserable, and there can be people that have so little but they have such a wealthy, rich, amazing life as well.
yeah, that is true. Because I'm gonna be honest, I've never stepped into the Eastern Hemisphere. I'm from New
Mm,
York, so I've
mm,
traveled up and down the Western Hemisphere. So I've been like,
mm.
to the Caribbean and South America
Yeah.
and Mexico and whatnot. And me myself, I'm Dominican, so my
Cool.
parents are from the Dominican Republic. So just
Yeah.
seeing like how grateful people are, like in developing nations, like third world or second world countries, and seeing
Mm,
how content they are, is really
mm,
eye opening, because it's like you would think that people in America would be happy, or people in like Western
mm,
civilizations would be happier than developing
mm,
nations, but it's
mm.
actually quite the opposite, and that's actually a really cool thing to expose your children to, because it makes them a little bit more grateful.
Exactly. And I like when I was younger in my 20s, I'll be 40 this year, but in my 20s I was growing the business from a place of like away from motivation, and it was,
Yeah,
I never want to be poor again, right? And what was connected to that as well is that I wanted to make my dad proud, and my dad works his ass off. He's always working, and I know that, like, that's just a part of him, but also it made me feel like, I would love more quality time with him.
yeah,
And growing up, and even now as an adult as well. And it was like, well, when I had those wounds around money and around wanting to make my dad proud and things like that, I was very much about, I've got to just make more. I've got to be more successful. I got to make more money. I got to achieve more goals. I was pushing and hustling and burning myself out. As I've grown and done a lot of work on myself and healed those wounds, and um, yeah, just really worked on all of that.
yeah,
I got to a certain stage with money where I was like, oh, it's not just about the money. Like, it's like you can have a heap of money and still have, you know, drama and bad shit going on.
oh yeah,
Money is great. Like, it helps you to be able to create opportunities and network. I've loved that it's been able to help me give people jobs as well, and give back to people that are struggling. And it's good to not have to stress about money as well. But when all your bills are covered and you have a good lifestyle, you realize that it's so much more than that. And so as I healed these things and as I made more money, I've realized, okay, well, what's more important than money, and success and just pushing, 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 is my health, like being healthy mentally and physically,
yeah,
and also my family. And that includes my immediate family, but also my extended family and friends and things like that. Actually having quality time with them, being present, making memories, having experiences, having fun and adventure. Like, fun and adventure is so important to me. I hate monotony. I hate like
yeah.
just doing the same thing all the time. I like to be
That's a
doing different things.
that's a big fact.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah, and so that's the other thing this has created, the travel, going back to the travel, we've been able to climb, the go to the temples in Cambodia, and visit an elephant sanctuary in Thailand. We were able to live in Portugal for a little bit because my two eldest kids are half Portuguese. Um, I went to Richard Branson's island, and spent 5 days with him and a group of entrepreneurs. I've
that's so dope.
swam with stingrays in the Caribbean. Like, I've done like just so many cool things. And it's like I said before, it's the big things and the little things that are really important.
And do you think that people overstress, like, and don't get me wrong, money and success is definitely two important factors in life. But do you think that people like overstress that and don't take the time to like kind of like slow it down a little bit and enjoy life?
Yeah, I think so. It's easy to get in that kind of cycle of just, I've got to make more, I've got to make more, I've got to make more. But
Yeah.
the thing is, I've seen people, for example, I've worked with someone in the past that had $1 million business, but he was only taking home $100,000. So there's a kind of like point where you can actually grow more, but you have way more team, way more expenses, and it actually costs you more. You could maybe be making less, but be making more profit and be really happy with that.
Yeah.
This is all changing drastically at the moment because of AI, where you can actually have virtual employees working for you 24/7 and be able to cut a lot of costs,
That
and
is
then
true.
have your team doing the more like creative things, or things that maybe the AI can't do, or the bigger picture things. So it is drastically changing, but there is a point where you go, okay, where do I actually want to reach? A lot of people want to reach six figures because it sounds good in this day and age with the economy. It's probably you need a lot more than that, but then
Oh
it's
yeah.
the next jump up is a million. Everyone's like, I want to be a millionaire, right? But why? And it's like, do you want to be a millionaire because that's what it actually takes to be able to live the life you want to live? Or do you just want to be a millionaire because it sounds good? Or because of some wound where you're like, oh, I need to prove myself and be successful. I need to prove myself to my dad or my mom or society or whatever. And once we heal those wounds and do that work within ourselves, we can actually really focus on what matters instead of the wounds, instead of that lack. And you
Yeah.
can actually then map out. An activity I do with my clients is looking at their ideal lifestyle, writing it out from the moment they wake up in the morning to the moment they go to sleep, exactly what their day and their life as a whole looks like. So, where are they living? What does their house look like? Who are they with? What kind of work are they doing? How much is in their bank account? What does their body look and feel like? What are the things that they're doing in their life? Um, and then from there, you can do your perfect lifestyle numbers where you actually map out. Some of them will be exact numbers, some will be a bit of a guess, but you map out how much is that lifestyle going to cost me? For example, rent or a mortgage, tax, food, mentors, any like
Yeah.
education, travel, like all of that. And then you have a really specific number. So that could be 323,000, or it could be 1.3 mil, or like whatever it is. That number is then connected to your why, not just some random number you've plucked out of the air. And when
No, I
you
get it.
do it in that way, the days that feel hard, the days you feel like giving up, the days where you feel like things aren't working, you read that out to yourself and you remember why you're doing it.
No, I get that. And do you ever see that people, even though they've achieved a lot, they're still stuck in like that survival mode mentality where they still feel that they need to generate more and more?
Oh, totally. Yeah. I had an old client that had $80,000 in her savings, but she didn't want to drop that even a dollar below 80,000. And so she was acting like she was in scarcity.
Yeah.
And like she didn't have any money. She was acting like a poor person, because she didn't want to touch that money. So it didn't feel real to her. And so I think that's why, yes, savings is important. Yes, investing is important. It's also important to have that regular cash flow, that recurring monthly income, but also to do that work on your mindset. Because if you don't do that work on yourself, no matter how much money you make, you're never going to feel like it's enough.
No, I get you on that. And do you find that it's hard to help people like out of that mindset, even if they're like successful already?
If they're willing to change, no. If they don't realize it's a problem and they just want to stay stuck in it, which usually we stay stuck in something if we're getting something out of it,
Yeah.
right? And it could feel like something totally shitty. Like I used to help women overcome emotional eating and binge eating, and you binge eat because you're getting something out of it. Now they could say, "Oh, I'm getting nothing out of it. I'm gaining weight. I feel shit after I'm doing it." Like it's all negative. But what I realized when I was binge eating was that it was a treat for myself. I was feeling good in the moment because it's like, oh, this is my little bit of time out for myself. It's my little treat for myself that I don't have to share with the kids. I'd like eat a whole family block of chocolate in the car before I went home after the gym. Like, right. Um, and it was like, oh, okay. So this is me like wanting this time to myself. So once I realized that, I started going and doing things for myself that were healthy, catching up with friends, making new friends, going to concerts. I bought myself like a whole new wardrobe and just really did some identity work on, well, who do I want to be and how can I do that internally and externally? And I stopped binge eating, something I thought I would never be able to like discipline my way out of, change
Yeah.
like that from doing that work. And so if someone's willing to bring the awareness around whatever they're struggling with and willing to make the change, then it can be quite quick and quite easy, but it's all a choice.
No, I got you on that. And do you feel that, when somebody is kind of like, I don't want to say switching identities, but kind of evolving in their identity, that there's always like a level of resistance and they can't really like find their footing on who they are anymore?
Yeah, like the first step's always the hardest. We're just wired to not like change, right?
Yeah.
Even if we're feeling uncomfortable, we've got to get to that point where we're in so much pain and so much uncomfortableness that we actually want to change. Or there's something, it can be either one of these or both, where there's something that we really want and it requires us to change to have it. So it's always going to feel uncomfortable at the start. There's one of my favorite authors, Robin Sharma, let's see if I remember the quote. He says something along the lines of, all change is hard in the beginning, messy in the middle, and beautiful at the end.
That's that's so true. That's so true about life. And like, what kind of steps can a person take to like start like, getting out of that like survivor mode and more into like thriving and like,
Mm.
finding themselves again?
Yeah, I think it's important to do like the exercise I said before around like their perfect lifestyle and the perfect lifestyle numbers. Like get really clear on their why they want that. And I always believe there's two whys. There's the why for ourselves, like you do in that perfect lifestyle. Oh,
Yeah.
I want the big house or I want the travel, the lifestyle, whatever. But then there's also the why for like outside of us. I want to help this many people or I want to give this much to charity or whatever it is. I think you've got to have both. Both are really important to make a difference in your own life and in the world. I really believe the more value we give, the
Yeah.
more money we make and the more we change our life and other people's lives as well. So I think doing something like that is really important in the beginning and then having the support as well. And this goes back to like how I got off drugs as well. I drastically changed my environment, the people I was hanging out with. I had my big why around my daughter and being pregnant and not wanting to use in pregnancy or after.
Of course.
Um, and then I also I'd moved over the other side of the world. That was a massive, massive
Yeah.
environment change.
That
Um,
ass.
yeah, but then I also like worked on myself as well. So I really think the physical environment that you're in, but also the environment of the people, your network, the people you spend your time with is so important. If everyone's using drugs and partying, that's going to be your norm. We used to say like, "Oh, we're not harming anyone. It's the people that go and get drunk that are angry. We're all happy. So we're good." It's
True.
like logic, druggy logic. But same as like if you're hanging around people that are just complaining about how expensive everything is and stressing about what's going on in the world, then that's going to be your norm as well. But if you hang around people that are doing like big things, exciting things, helping people, giving back to the world, growing and learning, then that's going to be your norm as well.
No, I got that. I got that. And like, how important is it? Well, how important is the company you keep? Where is it like, can you, like, for instance, right? Can you have a friend that doesn't do anything, but you could be the one to like motivate them as
Yeah,
well?
yeah,
But
definitely. Yeah, definitely. It's just you don't want to hang out with people like that all the time, right?
Yeah.
You'll have like your inner circle that you spend most of your time with, and you'll tell them everything and things like that. And someone like that you might catch up with every now and again, and maybe you just go for a walk together, or maybe you do go and have a few drinks or whatever, but it's not someone that would be like you're hanging out with all the time. I've found as I've grown over the years, I never have like a close knit group of friends that are just my friends for life. And at times I felt like, oh, I wish I had that. And I look at other people that do have that. But I realize like I'm always
It's a gift.
changing.
It's a gift and a curse.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a gift and a
I
curse.
have
Yeah.
friends at different stages, and some of those friends might come back in because we're on the same path with one area of our life, with our health, for
Yeah.
example, or with business, or with kids, or whatever. Um, so yeah, some people come and go, and some people just go.
Yeah.
And you meet new people as well. But yeah, I think yeah, you can definitely motivate people and they grow with you, but then some people will kind of just, it's not like you're like, piss off, like go away, I'm making more money now, so you're not my friend. I don't think that's important. It's not about how much money you make or your business success, but it's like just on a personality and mindset level, like, is this person a
Yeah.
positive influence and positive person that I want in my life?
No, I got that. I got that. And it does. And you're absolutely correct. I guess when you hang around with people that have the same mindset as you, or like or at least a positive and driven mindset, that you
Hmm.
usually are able to motivate yourself to do a lot more than what you're currently doing if you were just hanging around with your buddies that just smoke weed and play video games. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And like I really saw this when I went to Necker Island, to Richard Branson's island. I was there with a
Hold
group.
on, Ellie. Hold on, Ellie. Let me just pause this real quick. Let me get my laptop charger. My laptop. Right? No. You were saying?
Yeah, so when I went to Necker Island, to Richard Branson's island, I really noticed this, and I had a bit of imposter syndrome the first day or so, because I was like, "Who am I to be here with a billionaire and other people that have, created amazing things in the world, not just in terms of money and business success, but like." One of the guys there, him and his wife, had this project where they were getting rid of so much rubbish from the oceans, like people just doing
Yeah.
amazing things. And I was like, "Oh, who am I to be here?" And that went away after like a day or so, when I realized no matter what people have done or how much money they've made, they're all human beings.
That's a
Everyone
fact.
has their good days, their bad days. Everyone has their insecurities. There's good people and bad people in the world at any kind of level. And I really had an amazing time there. But at the time in my business, I've been trying to hit my first 50K month, and I kept getting so
Mm.
close to it. I was reaching like 47, 48, but just not quite getting there. And whilst I was there, I just spent a week before that in Sydney, Australia, doing VIP days with my clients. Then I went there. So most of the month, I wasn't actually working in my business. I had my team working in the business. I was kind of, checking
Yeah.
in, but I wasn't really working. And that month, because of the upgrade in my identity and my mindset, I ended up hitting my first 50K month when I only worked 1 week of that month.
Fire.
Um, yeah, and that showed me that, oh, it's not about hustle. Like it really like was a light bulb moment on that. But I also set a goal that month not to make 50K, but to make 80K. And because I kept saying, I want to make 50K, I want to make 50K, I want to make 50K, and just getting shy of it. So I was like, I'm going to set a stretch goal and say 80K. And for me, what that did is it expanded my mindset to think bigger and go, okay, think outside the box. Instead of making an extra few $1,000s, what would it require to make an extra 10, $30,000?
Yeah.
And even though I did,
Initially another 60%.
yeah. And the purpose wasn't necessarily to hit the 80K, but to change my mindset around it and to really use my team to be able to support that happening whilst I was away as well. So, yeah, I had massive upgrades there, in my mindset connected to my business as well. And it was probably around that time in the next few years where it didn't happen straight away. But it happened over a period of years where I realized this hustle mentality and burning myself out just wasn't a long-term solution. And that I couldn't do everything myself. I had to lean on my team. I had to create systems and automations and procedures, so that I could really not only keep growing, but be able to have more time off, and stop burning myself out. So that was a massive shift for me. And then over the kind of next few years, I ended up almost losing it all. I got in a abusive relationship. I also had my third baby, and then COVID happened, and it was just like everything happened all at
Yo,
once.
COVID was
Yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah,
COVID
and
was ridiculous.
I went from like 50, 60K months to 4K months within a year. So I almost
Yeah.
lost it all. I did end up starting another coaching business whilst I was with that abusive ex. We hit 20 to 30K months together, but and I do that over and over again. That's my norm now. I can do
Yeah.
that quite quickly because that's my, like, my baseline. But when I left him, uh, was around 2022 or 23, I think it was. I really had this period of time where I stepped away from the coaching industry, where I really needed to focus on healing for myself and for my
Yeah.
kids, and really just being a really present mom and being the best mom I could be. So I went all in on my healing. I went all in on my health and fitness, on rebuilding my friendships and my connections and things like that. I was really a shell of myself by the end of that relationship, and just focused
Nah,
on building myself back up again.
no, I completely get that because I come from a large family, so I've seen that happen to my cousins and all that
Mm,
stuff. So I know how hard that process is to like go
mhm.
from you like pouring into somebody, getting done dirty and then having to like pour into yourself again and make yourself feel whole again. So like
Yeah.
I was gonna ask, how important is it to like have that big picture, that big vision type of mindset? Because I know, like, for instance, like a lot of people would dream smaller than their actual potential, and that they'll underestimate themselves, basically.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, when they're setting goals or they're brainstorming or thinking about what they want to do, they really think too realistic,
Yeah,
because they're scared of failure, and they're scared. Well, most people are scared of failure. They're scared of, oh, well, if I set a big goal and I don't achieve it, then I'm a failure. Then I'm not good enough, or whatever they want to attach to that. Sometimes, though, people are also scared of success. Like, oh, what if I do achieve that? Then who am I? They feel like they'll lose something. I'll lose my relationship, or I'll lose because I'll outgrow them, or I'll lose my friends, or I'll lose my time, or I won't be able to be there with my kids, or whatever it is. And
yeah,
so it's working on that, the deeper emotions and limiting beliefs that are there, to kind of wipe the slate clean and really focus on, okay, well, what do I actually really want? And I think most people feel like that they can achieve way more. Like they'll set these goals of like, oh yeah, I want a really big house, or I want to travel the world one day. Right? But like one day never comes. We'll set these
yeah,
big goals for the future or not put a date on them, but then set really tiny goals for the short term, for the next few months or the next year, when you can drastically change things within a year. For
yeah.
example, last year, I stepped back into the coaching space after having a break. And by the way, me having a break was growing a $300,000 cleaning business in the process. So that was my break.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, so when I stepped back into coaching and mentoring people last year, so it was from about September, October, November, December, January. In 5 months, I ran an event on the Gold Coast where I live, which was about helping people overcome fear and stepping out of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
We did some mindset work on the beach, and then we climbed the tallest building in Australia. And like, you climb the actual outside of the building around the top. It was
Oh, that's
crazy.
crazy.
Yeah, yeah, it was cool.
That's
My
crazy. Yeah.
my eldest daughter did it with me as well, actually, which was really cool. Um, yeah, so I put that event on. I did a 1 day VIP day for 4 people, and I did an 8 week course, and then I launched my VIP mastermind as well. So, and also not only that's the offerings that I did in just 5 months. I
Yeah.
also did speaking, I did podcasts, and I really stepped back into and reminded myself of who I am after taking that break and going through everything I did. That happened in 5 months, like, but at the start of that, if you told me, hey, you're going to do this, and this in the next 5 months, I'd be like, what? Really? Like, I wouldn't have even believed it.
Nah, I
So
get
it's like,
that.
yeah, we don't need to believe 100% to take the first step. We just need to take that first step.
Yeah. And how do you find it harder to work with people that fear success versus feeling failure? Or which like mindset is harder to like break through and like get them on the path they need to get on for them to actually be happy?
I think it's both the same, like they come from the same place. So I don't think there's really so much of a difference. It's working with both of them and finding that root cause of where that came from. And doing, like, I use a mixture of NLP, timeline therapy, hypnotherapy, as well as something called the spiral, which is like emotional. Like I use emotional clearing techniques to clear that from the body and the mind.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think any kind of limiting belief, anything that's holding us back, it comes from the same place. And so it's just clearing that out of the mind and the body to be able to then have the breakthrough to then move forwards.
No, I get that. I get that. So whew, where was I gonna go with this? All right. When it comes to like timeline, right? A lot of people would, like you were saying, they set very small goals for like months or a year and then like never put a date on like their bigger goals. So
Mm.
like how important is timing like when it comes to like you moving forward with your goals and all that?
Yeah, I think it's really important to know like the big picture. So, like in
Yeah.
3 years or 5 years or something like that, where do you want to be? Looking at those lifestyle things, looking at what you want to have achieved, what you want your life to look like, but also what you want to feel like.
Yeah.
Like, do I want to be happy? Do I want to be excited about life? Like, what are those, like, who do you want to be as a person as well? With the bigger picture things, you're going to be more vague. You're not going to put exact kind of like, okay, this month in 3 years' time is this is gonna
Yeah,
happen,
no, I
because
got
you
you on
don't
that.
really know, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
things, especially if you're growing fast, like you don't know who you're going to be in 3 or 5 years' time. So I think it's good to have that placeholder of like, yeah, I'd love to, bigger picture, I'd love to have this house in this location, and I'd love to, have traveled to this many countries or do this with my kids, and really thinking about like the age that you're going to be in that time frame. Like, how old am I going to be in 5 years? How old are my kids going to be? Like, in 5 years, my eldest daughter, who's about to turn 16, like she'll be 21. That's crazy to think about,
Right.
she might
Yo,
be out of
for
home
real.
by then. Yeah. So that's on the big picture. And then I really make it very specific on the next 12 months. So with my clients, we look at, okay, in 12 months' time, where do you want to be in terms of your income, but also in terms of any key projects you want to do throughout the year? For example, if you want to write a book or run a retreat or launch a podcast or whatever it is, what are those key projects you want to complete throughout the year? And then they might have a goal of how many people's lives they want to help as well, whether that's speaking to 1,000 people on stage or having a certain number of people in their programs or whatever. And then we break that down. So we break it down to, okay, the first quarter, what is the 1 or 2 key projects for that quarter? Break that down into the month that you're in, and then break that down into weekly and daily action steps. So you're getting really, really like specific on the micro. And for me, even like I will have a notebook. Yes, I like all techie things and automations, but it really helps me to have a notebook in front of me. Like, what are my top priorities for today? I can actually physically cross them off. And I work in like 1 hour blocks of like, okay, I'm going to get all this done in an hour. I like to incentivize myself. I'm going to
Yeah.
get this done in an hour. After the hour, I'll take a little bit of, even if a 5-minute break, grab some water, grab a snack if I need to, or shake my body out or go for a walk around the block. Sometimes I'll do that in an hour if I've if I've got to go
Yeah.
really fast. Sometimes it'll be, 2 hours or 90 minutes or whatever. I also have a big whiteboard in front of me where I write down my sales for the week as well. And that's like back to my call center days. I like to see the sales I'm making through the week
You like to see
and
the numbers, yeah.
have like my goals and targets there as well. I think it's really important to incentivize and motivate ourselves. Otherwise, you're just working every day for what? Like, I've got holidays booked this year already. We've already been on some as well. I think it's important to have things to look forward to, but also enjoy the work that you're doing and really be always learning and growing, so that you've got more things to be able to be excited about and things to look forward to in your business and also in your life.
No, I get that. And have you ever came across like somebody who's, you know, working on their business, but it just doesn't seem like it's clicking for them? And then
Mm.
after like an identity shift, everything just starts to like fall into its place.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, it can be an identity shift or it could just be time. Like,
Yeah.
I always say to my clients that do the things that are working every day. And it might not feel like it's working at first, but you do that for days, weeks, months, it ends up snowballing. And it's like a big snowball getting bigger and bigger, rolling down the hill. It creates momentum. And then one day you'll be like, oh, all these clients just came out of nowhere, right? But it's not
Yeah.
nowhere. It's all those months or years of work that is then it's just clicked, right? It's taken off. Um, but you got to do that work and you got to focus on your marketing and your sales first and foremost, because without leads and without customers, you don't have a business. You're just keeping yourself busy. So it's really important each day to think about, okay, who can I help today? What can I do to generate leads to give some value to the world? And who can I talk to today that I could help? And you might not get the sale or the lead that day, but it might come tomorrow or next week or next month. But those things that you do every day and do consistently then create momentum and then turn into a really successful business. You just got to keep going. The people that aren't successful or fail in business or go out of business are the ones that just stopped and didn't keep going long enough, or they weren't focused on the right things.
And how do you help people like refocus on like their like, I don't want to say like the pieces that they're missing, but like areas where they haven't put their attention at yet?
Hmm. Yeah, I think with people like, and myself included at times as well, it's so easy to like, even if you've got your to-do list to go, oh, just ticked off 10 things and you've had a really busy day, but it's like, oh, but I didn't actually make any money or like get any leads or
Yeah.
help anyone or move the needle forwards, right? So I think it's important to be productive, not busy, to be able to focus on the things that are actually going to make you grow, and most of the time, first and foremost, that should be the marketing and sales. And then other than that, it should be your bigger key projects that are going to make your business run more smoothly, like setting up systems, creating an online program or preparing for your retreat or a speaking gig or whatever it is. Um, Anything that's done over and over again, that's really low level tasks, um, automate it or like get AI to do it or create a system around it or get a virtual assistant to do it, because it's not worth your time. And when you get bogged down in doing just those little fiddly things, you might think, oh, it only takes a second, but it's probably not a second. It's probably 5 or 10 minutes. And then say you have 100 of those in a week, that's hours and hours of your week, every single week, where you're just feeling overwhelmed and stressed by the business, but not actually moving forwards. And then it feels not only overwhelming, but frustrating. And then you turn it internally and feel like, oh, I'm not good enough. This isn't working. I'm a failure.
Yeah.
When really, if you just focus on the right things, automate, systemize, or get team for the other things, then you actually get to focus on the things that you really love and enjoy, and you actually get to grow faster as well, and really love what you're doing because you're seeing those results too.
No, and that's a definite, especially with like the automations and the systems, because right now we're living in an age of AI where you could get any kind of AI agent to do whatever you really needed to do.
Yeah.
And so, but besides that, look, and this is some coming from somebody who is doing I'm literally doing everything by myself on this end.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and it's crazy hard because I lack in promotion, and I struggle with my promotion because I'm doing everything
Mm,
else. But
mm.
how important is it to like implement systems and automations in order for you to like maintain like a healthy life work balance, or like life achievement balance, where you're not
Mm.
being burnt out and you can actually spend time with like your family or friends?
Yeah, I think it's so important. And I think it's important to do it as you go, because if you sit there and go, okay, I'm going to fully systemize my whole business and I'm going to take the next month to do that. But if you do that, you're actually just avoiding making money, right? So
Mhm.
many people can get caught up in like, oh, I've got to do all the back end work, but they're not actually making money and helping people. So it's always sales and marketing first. But I think as you go, like if you're doing something and you're like, oh, okay, this is how I send an email, or this is how I don't know, how I order something online that I need regularly in my business, whatever it is. If you're getting a team member to do that, just do a Loom or whatever kind of screen share, where as you're doing that task, you're recording it. That then transcribes, so you've got a whole system and process around it. You put that in your team training website or membership site or whatever you use,
Yeah.
and you're just doing them as you go along rather than sitting there and spending months and months sorting it out. So I think that saves time. And like you said, with AI as well, like that's more so for team, but with AI, you can set up those agents now where you have a specific agent for admin or a specific agent for your copywriting, and you can have them set up, which takes a little bit of time, but not that long, where you set them up and then they're just kind of 24/7 virtual employees for you as well. It's like, I'm so excited about everything changing with AI at the moment,
Yeah.
and it's something my partner and I are going really deep on, because after being in business for 15 years, I've had to do all these things manually or hire more and more team, to be able to do the things now that can just be done on the computer if you just have your screen up and it's just working whilst you're sleeping. It's amazing, and it's really going to change the industry so
Yeah,
much.
well, I believe me, ChatGPT has been helping me out through a lot. I can't even lie
Yeah,
to you.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah.
I'm right on board with you on that one. And let me see what else. Right? Do you find that a lot of people self sabotage? Like
Yeah,
they don't,
totally.
and like what how do you help them through that? Like get
Mm.
over the self sabotaging thing.
Yeah. So with self sabotage, it's usually that I found this with a lot of people that I've gotten them really fast results. It's like, oh, I've just achieved this really, really fast. I don't deserve this. Or if I keep growing, I'm going to lose time, energy, whatever it is. So I'm going to mess this up and self sabotage. And we don't do it consciously, it's all subconsciously.
Mm.
I'm going to just blow this up because I don't actually deserve it, or I can't handle like, oh, more growth is going to mean I'm losing something. And there's a really great book on this called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, where it's all about reaching that upper limit, where as humans, we feel like, oh, I can only have this much happiness, or I can only have this much success, or this much love. And it's like, well, what if your happiness, success, and love was infinite?
True.
Like, you don't need to keep bashing up against this ceiling of like, I'm only allowed this much, right? You can keep having more. So his book talks all about that. But a real life example of this as well was, years ago, I was working with two women. who were single moms. They were quite young, and they'd worked their way up through my different offerings to then join my VIP mastermind,
Yeah.
which was 25,000 for the year. And then when I first started it, and then I bumped it up to 35,000 and included more things. So it's a decent investment in themselves, but they were making the money to be able to join that program. They had to be
True.
making at least 10 grand a month to join. And one of them in particular, well, both of them, I'd helped them reach six figures in less than 6 months. They'd gone from, having no money to having a decent amount of money very quickly. And this was probably about maybe about 8 or 10 years ago now. So that money went further than it does these days as
Oh yeah.
well. Yeah. And so one of them, I even helped her get over 600 leads in 3 days at a baby expo, because I have an expo strategy that worked really well for me. I thought
Yeah.
I'll go along and I'll help her implement this strategy. Then I went for a month to Southeast Asia with my family, with my kids and my partner at the time. And I was still working. Like we'd be going around and, having days off and things like that, but I'd still be jumping on my laptop, helping clients, jumping on calls. I was still there. It wasn't like I'd just
Yeah.
taken a whole month off. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I was still working. Then all of a sudden, I get these two letters from lawyers in my email inbox. And it was these two women who'd gone to lawyers trying to get out of my program. They hadn't even had a conversation with me.
Yeah.
They'd just gone straight to lawyers saying that my program didn't work, that they could just get this free information on the internet, that my program was overpriced, all this stuff. And I actually had screenshots and proof of them saying, this was the most amazing thing I've ever
Yeah.
done. It totally changed my life. So what I realized through this situation at the time, not only had they pedestaled me and thought like, Ellie's amazing. And then when I wasn't physically there, they were like, oh, she's not helping us anymore. But the biggest thing was one of them, how I'd helped get the 600 leads in 3 days. That then just hurt her head. And because she wasn't willing to step up in her mindset, she self-sabotaged and blew everything up. She, instead of owning it and looking at, okay, I didn't make those phone calls. I've got 600 leads. I've got to call them all now. I can make a lot of money and help a lot of people.
Yeah.
Instead, she pointed the finger at me and said, Ellie's overseas. She's not helping me. Her stuff doesn't work.
But the
Right?
thing about but
Easy.
but the thing about it was like you're there to mentor and coach. You're not there to actually do the work for them. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
So
exactly.
you got her to the door. You
Mm,
got her to the door. All she had to do was knock and open it up. You know
yeah,
what I mean? So
yeah,
like,
yeah,
but
and that was
that's
scary
messed
for
up.
her. She didn't wanna make those phone calls, so then she blew it up, and I think if we have that self-awareness and we're always working on ourselves, we may not realize it at first, but when we do the work, we can go, "Okay, well, why am I doing this? Why am I creating this?" Because, most things in life, we have a part in it and we create, and I'm not talking about horrible, abuse and horrible atrocities in the world, but, in our general kind of
Yeah.
day-to-day life. Um, where it's like, okay, I just had a fight with my partner because he said horrible things or whatever. Okay, but what did I do? Because he's not fighting with himself. He's not talking to a wall, yelling at the wall. What was my part in it? What can I change within myself to stop that from happening in the future? That's not to take all of it off someone else who's being horrible to you, but it's like, what's my creation in that? Right.
Yeah,
And
I
if
get
we're
that.
always pointing the finger at everyone else, then we're never actually looking within and changing and growing.
Yeah, true. You're absolutely correct on that one. And
Mm.
before we wrap everything up, I always ask everybody who comes on the show this: do you have any final thoughts, words of wisdom, or advice for the roomies?
Yeah, I think especially so I'll bring it back to like present day as well. Right now, fuel prices have gone crazy. There's war going on. We have prices of everything just keeps going up and up and up. And that's why even more than ever, I think it's so important to work on your mindset, to be an optimistic person, to really decide what you're going to consume in terms of media, in terms of the people that you talk to and you spend your time with. I think it's really important. I just wrote a post on this morning, actually, to surround yourself with positive, like-minded people, to not be just scrolling through Facebook all day, and to really create a business and a life that you love and that you're excited about. There's two types of people right now: people that are complaining about fuel prices, people that are deciding to struggle.
Yeah.
And there's people that are seeing amazing opportunities right now. Like I said before, with AI, it's like it's like the same boom as what happened with the internet. Like, we have not seen this in depending on how old you are, in
Like
our
20,
lifetime,
yeah.
how big this boom is. It's crazy. And for me right now, I don't care about fuel prices or about what's going on in the world. I'm focused on, like, yes, I keep across it,
Yeah.
but I'm not consumed by it. And I choose to focus on being excited, on learning and growing, on adding more to my clients, adding more to my business, always adding more value to people, and focused on my goals and what I want for myself and my family. So yeah, I guess the last piece of advice is really choose what you focus on, choose the people you spend your time with and the places you spend your time, and really connect to your goals and what you want in life, not what you don't want. And really be aware of what you're speaking, like the words in your head and the words that come out of your mouth as well, because that creates your reality.
You heard it, roomies. And with that being said, remember, put in that work, keep the mind clear and on the right mindset, and everything's going to work out. But remember to enjoy life while you do it. And with that being said, peace out.